Greetings, I'm John the Spirit, we've got some metal to make, and welcome to Factorio Pyanodons Supershorts. Our new power system is chugging along, and it's time to completely replace the iron system we just made. Seeing as I'm making about 3.75 hot air per second, or should be, I want to use 2 hot air per second for my iron system. Factory Planner has just told me everything I need to make, and it looks like in order to use 2 hot air per second, I need 6.6 electric mining drills. So as not to use 2 but slightly less, I'm going to only put down 6 electric mining drills, and those will all fuel my iron melting system. Sandcasting wise, it looks like we're making 0.5 items per second. We might be able to make more. No, one soil extractor limits it. But the sandcasting required will be basically 0.04 items per second, so we don't need to worry. We need oxygen from basic oxygen furnaces, but we get all this extra hydrogen. What are we going to do with all this extra hydrogen? Apparently you can make nickel ore from tar and hydrogen, and I might need nickel later, but I'm just going to vent the hydrogen. Eventually though, I could get some extra tar using iron. 4 oxygen furnaces. Actually, if we're only using 6 electric mining drills, we only need 2.9 basic oxygen furnaces, so I'm just going to make 3. 1 casting unit, 32 aluminum for 2 jaw crushers, and an electrolyzer. By the way, to prevent the issues of constant overproduction of tar and coal gas that happens because of the syngas system, I have added top-up valves so that the coal gas and tar from the destructive distillation columns are prioritized least in this system. The first tar that will be used in this gasifier is the tar that comes out of the syngas, and the first coal gas that will be used everywhere is the coal gas that comes from the gasifier. I'm pretty sure this will prevent clogs. Right now, we're getting absolutely no clogs anywhere, so that's a good thing, I hope. With our duralumin down, we can now make our 2 jaw crushers. I've turned the conveyor belts for these 6 miners so they can create iron ore that I'll separate out and send to my new system. Apparently, oxygen furnaces require some kind of solid fuel. I recall that my current coke processing system creates 2 coke per second, my science system uses 0.6 coke per second, and my acetylene system uses 1 coke per second, so this is about going to push the limits, so we're going to need to make a bigger coke system soon. Don't mind me, just finished Nexolite and I'm going to research nickel processing. Iron ore will enter both of these jaw crushers and will be split off into the 3 oxygen furnaces. I have 2 inserters on every single one of the oxygen furnaces just to make sure everyone gets the same amount of iron ore. I'll request coke and borax in all 3 of these logistics chests. I'll gas vent hydrogen and hook the oxygen up and the water with an offshore pump. To supply hot air to this casting unit, I'll use this automated factory emptying hot air barrels. I'll request hot air barrels, and plug the empty barrels into an active provider chest. That way, like I said, these barrels will be provided first to the network. First problem in my system, I forgot to deal with stone, so I'll deal with it as usual, plug it into a stone furnace using a priority splitter. The processed iron ore will get picked up by inserters. You may ask, Jonathan, why is so much stone getting backed up when it should all be going into the furnace? My calculations indicate that if all of these 3 basic oxygen furnaces are running, they should use a certain amount of processed iron ore that corresponds to a certain amount of stone. That stone will be taken care of by a stone furnace. So as long as the stone furnace is constantly running, it will use up sufficient stone to ensure that the system runs, I think. I'll request borax and sandcasting. And since chutes can pull out 3.75 items per second, and we're producing 3 items per second, we now have a nice pretty 3 iron per second coming from our system. Which is a drastic improvement from the 1 iron per second I was getting from this system, which required many more miners. With iron and copper in the system, I can now fuel this formic acid forever. Time for our next problem, aluminium. With aluminium processing, I can make molten aluminium provided I have graphite, and graphite requires coke. To use almost 1.75 hot air, I can make 2 aluminium plates per second, but that's going to take 1 graphite per second. And all of the aluminium ore I need is going to require a lot of coal gas. Right now, to make 31.75 coal gas from wood, I need 9.5 destructive distillation columns, which isn't pretty. However, if I try to make coke using destructive distillation columns and a gasifier to turn the excess tar from the DDTs into coal gas, it looks like I can satisfy everything with 2 destructive distillation columns, but I need a lot of wood, and my current wood system won't actually produce this much wood per second. If I make the coal gas using tar from pump jacks, I'll need roughly 1 iron per second to make all this aluminium, which I don't know if I want to do. I could destructively distill raw coal, but it would use a freakish amount of raw coal per second. It seems to me as if the best option is just using wood, which means I'll need to set up a couple new wood farms. But look who's been making hundreds of trees, it's not going to be a problem. What is a problem is our syngas system clogging up again, this time because there's too much coke. Don't mind me, I'm just starting live research, zoology, Here's how I fix the coke system. Coke from the destructive distillation column will go first off to the left, where it will have an input priority so that it gets used first for the carbon dioxide. If there's excess coke, it'll go into this passive provider chest, and if there's insufficient coke for some reason, coke will get poured out by this requester chest. I am pretty sure this will finally be the solution. Meanwhile, these burner mining drills are not producing sufficient stone, so instead of turning all the stone to stone brick, I'm going to get rid of one of the stone furnaces for the jaw crusher and just use it for stone. Actually, I think the better option is to feed it all into a passive provider chest at the iron section. In other news, it turns out my wood system fits precisely between 4 roboports, which is crazy to me, but hey, if it works and it ain't broke, don't fix it. There is still a woeful dearth of stone, so I'll now plug stone into these passive provider chests. Turns out most of these machines are pretty stone hungry and a lot of them are working constantly. So I think it's just time to go all the way and plug the stone from these 5 electric mining drills into a passive provider chest. That'll give us 2.5 extra stone per second, which should be enough for now. New problem, insufficient electricity. Luckily, I've got this solution already in place. Jonathan knows what he's doing. Not really. Now we are producing sufficient wood, I think, hopefully. I'm not going to make 2 destructive distillation columns each for wood and coal, I'm just going to accept the limited aluminium. Also, I'm going to research filter inserters real quick. I'll plug wood into this destructive distillation column using chutes. I'll pull the coal out with 3 inserters into this DDT. I'll pull the coke out using these inserters into these 3 graphite high-pressure furnaces. I'll plug the tar into a gasifier with a pressure pump, vent the flue gas, connect up all the coal gas, and with the power of 20 duralumin make 2 filter inserters. Don't mind me, I'm just researching land animals. These filter inserters will pull out iron oxide only. As per usual, I'll pull out the ash and put it into a burner loop, fueled with coke temporarily because I have so many temporary things. Anyway, now we're making graphite. I'm going to make a ball mill, which will make powdered aluminium. It will also make gravel, so I'm going to force gravel using the splitter to go up to the right or the top, and an inserter will pull it out into this washer, which will use gravel and water to make saline water, which I will promptly sinkhole. I apparently can also use it to make more seaweed, but I'm not in terrible need. Yes, I am stealing the water from my borax system here. Now I need 3 electric arc furnaces. On one side I'll feed in borax from a requester chest, with inserters into the electric arc furnaces and pipes pulling out the molten aluminium. One moment, something has gone horribly wrong. Steam is not being gas vented. I think you need to sinkhole it. Give me one moment. Alright, sorry, my power went out. Everything was going badly because all of my power is gone, but I just hooked up all the steam to a tailing pond and now it's going away as it should. Now you may recall that there's an excess coal gas coming out of this system, which I am just going to gas vent, using the wonders of an overflow valve. We'll plug aluminium into this casting unit, while this requester will request sand casting and hot air barrels that'll get pumped into this automated factory. And now we have oodles of aluminium. Some of that I'm going to funnel directly into a duralumin smelter, which I'm going to fuel with some of the excess coal gas. Hurrah for all that excess coal gas! The rest will go happily into a passive provider chest. I'll cap duralumin so it's not constantly being made, but it is pretty nice. One problem, to run it constantly, I need more coal gas than I actually have. So I'm going to remove this overflow valve down here, and use it here instead so that once the coal gas goes above 80%, it'll start feeding into the smelter and fueling duralumin production. Although it's going to do so really slowly. My calculations indicate that I should be getting a surplus of 10 coal gas per second, which will run this smelter at 1/5 the speed. But 1/5 is better than no fifths. Later, if I need to, I'll just use bundled up coke oven gas instead. And once again vent the coal gas, but we'll see. For now, that's it for today's episode. We have aluminium and iron, amazing. I'm going to research rocks because it's almost time to get into the wonders of animals. I could spend some time making better quartz processing so I'm not using endless quantities of quartz, but I mean, this is fine, everything's fine, these 3 crystal mines are fine. I have enough red science for everything is fine. With all these metals and everything on our hands, I think it might be a good idea to start working towards simple circuit boards. Which aren't too bad. Most of these things can be made pretty simply until you get to the printed circuit substrate, which requires formica, which requires melamine resin. Fiberboard, no problem. Just need some creosote, raw fibers, which you can get from wood, or key calx, which we'll probably use, sodium hydroxide from saline water. Wow, we've got saline water. But this melamine resin, this melamine resin, this urea that you can only really get from awogs, which are a type of bear. And melamine, for which you need ammonia, which you also get from urea, and cyanic acid, which you also get from urea. And formaldehyde, which you get from methane, which you get from moon drops, for which you need cDNA. for which you need retroviruses, for which you need rock cocoons. Yes sir, do we have an issue that needs to be completed. But that's okay, we've got all this infrastructure. And as soon as these rocks are done researching, we're going to get into the wonders of creating them. Well, we might need Fawogi so that I can use rock food, which I would really like to do. I love the food chains, let me tell you. But before we can even make rocks, we need to make Nexolite so that we can make the rocks. But like I said, that's for next episode. As always, if you have any feedback on this one, I'd love to hear it. I hope you enjoyed, and God bless you all.